Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. And as always, I am your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Football Friday. We have a lot to talk about on today's show. We got both shows today. We got the Football Podcast from 11 to 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Then I do the Patreon shortly after that. And then I will be streaming the Baseball Podcast shortly after that, around 12:45 p.m. Eastern Time. So, got the double show today, so hopefully you guys tune in to both. Before I get into the rundown for today's show, I just want to remind you guys to donate or tip and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show. And for bonus coverage materials that are not covered by this live broadcast, make sure to go to patreon.com and search up GSMC Sports Network, and that is where you can find all the exclusive content across all the platforms here on the GSMC Sports Network. And yeah, with the donations and the tips, you know, it's good because obviously, you know, when you have a lot of people in the chat and you want your comment to be read, you know, over the live broadcast, you know, when you do that, it's a super chat, and, you know, for me, then I highlight that, and I make sure to talk about that on the live show. So that's why, you know, if you really want your comment to be recognized on the stream, you know, that's how you can do that. And obviously, you know, the link is on the bottom of the ticker here, streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. So, with that, let's get right into what we are going to discuss on today's show. So, to start off the show, we are going to recap last night's game between the Jaguars and the Saints. It actually turned out to be a very good game, so we'll get into that in a second. Then we will preview all the early window games for Sunday, so that'll be the second part of the show. The third part of the show, we'll do the late window games. We'll preview them, and then we'll preview probably the best game of the weekend, which is the Sunday night game. And obviously, you know, we didn't the Sunday night game this past week, well, last week, if now you want to say that, you know, wasn't the best. This will make up for it. You'll have another NFC East team versus another AFC East team. This time it'll be the Philadelphia Eagles and the Miami Dolphins, a pair of 5-1 teams. So we'll preview that in the final part of the show. So, a lot to talk about. We'll do picks and things like that. So, let's get right into it. So, let's recap last night's game between the Jaguars and the Saints. So, I said this was going to be a low-scoring game. I said the Jaguars would win this game. And the Jags ended up winning, but this ended up being a very high-scoring game. The Jags, they looked like they were on their way to dominating this game. But the Saints, at one point, they tied the game. And, you know, the Saints offense definitely has a lot of problems, and definitely watching the game up close last night, you could really tell that. Derek Carr got banged up in this game. It looked like it was a groin injury. So it didn't look like he was going to finish the game, but, you know, he's a tough player, and, you know, he was able to you know, finish off the game. But the Saints ultimately fell to the Jags 31-24. So we'll go through the game summary. So, I mean, the Jags, right off the bat, 10 plays, 75 yards, you know, almost 5.5 minutes, go right down the field and score a touchdown. Travis Etienne got the game started off with his first touchdown of the game. Saints went down the field, 11 plays, 43 yards, and they missed a field goal. Then the Jags fumbled. But the Saints weren't able to capitalize on that, so they ended up punting. Then they came back with a field goal of their own. So the game was 7-3. And then the Jags 7 plays, 75 yards to go up 14-3. Another touchdown by Travis Etienne, 17 yards out. Then the Saints, they got the ball back, turnover on downs. Jags punted, Saints punted, Jags punted. Then the Saints kicked a field goal. Then the Jags kicked a field goal. So at the half, it was 17-6. So yeah, it just looked like, the Jags were going to pretty much dominate this game. And so then we went into the second half. The Saints came out 11 plays, 52 yards, a little over 5 minutes on their possession. They kicked a field goal, so they got it within one score. Jags punted, Saints got the ball back, and you thought, okay, all right, let's see what happens. And then Derek Carr threw a pick six to Oluokun, and so then it ended up being 24-9 at that point. But then the Saints got the ball back, 16 plays, 75 yards, almost 7.5 minutes. They went down the field, scored a touchdown, and that was Taysom Hill, a 1-yard rush, and that was actually on 4th and goal. Obviously he continues to be that gadget player for the Saints. Then in the fourth quarter, both teams punted, Jags turnover on downs, and then the Saints ended up tying the game, 3 plays, 53 yards. Yeah, it was a 17-yard play, a 17-yard pass to Michael Thomas, and then a 19-yard reception by 19-yard pass from Derek Carr to Taysom Hill, and then Derek Carr, 17-yard touchdown to Michael Thomas. So he scored his first touchdown of the season, and then Alvin Kamara got the 2-point conversion, and there was a tie game. Then both teams punted, and then the Jags, 2 plays, 46 yards. They got a touchdown, Trevor Lawrence to Christian Kirk for 44 yards. And, the Saints turnover on downs. They had a chance to tie the game. Derek Carr threw a pass to Foster Moreau in the back of the end zone, and he didn't catch it. He could have caught it. So then the next play was to Olave, and he didn't catch it on 4th and goal, and that was it. And the Jags end up winning, and Foster Moreau on the bench just, had his hands over his face with his head down. I mean, he just was, so devastated that he didn't make that catch. And they showed Juwan Johnson and Kamara kind of being there for him to try to, cheer him up because, that could have tied the game. That could have sent it to overtime. But, yeah, I mean, the Saints in the second half, 15 points in the fourth quarter. They had their opportunities, but, and the pick six kind of killed them too. You take that away, that's 7 points off the board. But, yeah, so Jags end up winning. They improved to 5-2. It's like their best start since I saw it on Instagram. It was like their best start since, let me see if I could pull it up. I forget what Instagram page posted it. But yeah, it's like their best start in years at 5-2. And yeah, they've taken a hold on this division now. They look really good. Again, it was rough at some points during the game. Obviously, they allowed the Saints to come back into the game and tie it, but ultimately the better team won. Trevor Lawrence didn't have his best game, 20-29, 204 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions. Also was their leading rusher with 59 yards. Travis Etienne had 2 touchdowns in this game. He rushed for 53 yards. He looks like one of the best running backs in the NFL right now. He had another good game. Christian Kirk was their leading receiver, 6 receptions for 90 yards and a touchdown. Evan Ingram had 5 for 45. Calvin Ridley only had 1 catch for 5 yards. So he's been a disappointment so far this year. I mean, after that first game against the Colts, he looked like he was going to have a monster year, but right now it hasn't looked like that. Then on the Saints side of things, Derek Carr, 33 of 55, again, throwing the ball way too many times. 301 yards passing, 1 touchdown, and a pick. Obviously, that was the pick 6. Alvin Kamara, I mean, he was really involved in this offense last night. He had 17 carries for 62 yards, so he was their leading rusher. Also was their leading receiver. He was targeted 14 times. He had 12 receptions for 91 yards. Yeah, and a lot of the plays were just checkdowns to Kamara. The Saints, they don't look that good right now. Olave, 7 receptions for 57 yards. Taysom Hill had 4 for 50. Michael Thomas, 3 for 42 and a touchdown. Um, but yeah, like watching that game last night, you really saw like what the problems of the Saints up close. I mean, their defense is good but not great. Gave up big plays. I mean the play to Christian Kirk. He took that to the house. That was basically most of him. I mean, Trevor Lawrence threw him like a 10-yard pass or whatever it was, and he just avoided all the Saints players and took it to the house. That wasn't good by the Saints defense. And yeah, I mean they let ETN have the first two touchdown drives. Um, you know, Saints defense just doesn't look good. Their offense doesn't look good. I mean, again, Derek Carr throwing the ball 50 plus times. The offensive line didn't really do him any help either, and I talked about that going into the game. It just wasn't a good game for the Saints. I mean, they did come back, but ultimately they just couldn't get it done, and they fall to 3-4 now. And yeah, I mean, listen, and again, most of their plays was just checking it down to Kamara. Like they really could not get anything going earlier in this game. And I mean, the pick six, I mean, that was bad. And Derek Carr just he's still trying to work on his chemistry with his receivers, because there was a couple times with like Olave, they weren't on the same page. Michael Thomas really didn't do anything until like the second half. The Saints just right now they don't look very good on both sides of the ball. And a lot of people look at the coach, and I would agree. I think Dennis Allen, depending on what happens this year with the Saints, I think they might have to go in a different direction with the head coach. Because you look at the talent. I mean, the talent's everywhere on offense and on defense. It's just right now they don't look very good. So we'll see what happens. But the Jags, they're finding their groove right now. Now they're 5-2. And I think especially when you look at the landscape of the South, the AFC South. I mean the Jags, they've taken hold of this division, and it's ultimately going to be theirs. Now the Texans, I think right now are their number one competitor, but I think the Jags they're going to take this division, especially Anthony Richardson now being out for the year, and you saw what the Jags did to the Colts with Gardner Minshew. I mean they don't even play each other anymore this year. And then the Titans, with the injury to Tannehill, and they're 2-4. Right now, the biggest competitor in that division for them is the Texans. And then for the Saints, I mean, you still got a chance to win the division, or get a wild card. By no means this loss knocks them out of anything, but they're still trying to figure it out. I mean, and I think Derek Carr, I mean, throwing the ball 55 times is a little too much, and I think they got to pull back on that a little bit. But then again, like they were down a lot during this game too. So obviously they got to throw the ball more. Defense needs to also play better too. So, but yeah, I mean that's pretty much it when it comes to this topic. Again, Jags look like a very good team right now. The Saints, I mean, again, they have they got some things they got to work out, and again, Derek Carr got banged up in this game, so we'll see what that means moving forward. I mean, he was able to finish the game, so I'm sure he should be able to play whenever the Saints next game. I don't know if they have a bye week yet. No, they don't have a bye week yet. They have a bye week in a couple of weeks. But so that's pretty much it with this topic. So with that, we are going to take our first break of the show, and then when we come back, we are going to preview the early window games for Sunday. So I'll go through all of them, and that'll be our second topic for the day. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are now going to preview the early window games for Sunday. We'll go through each one, and I'll give you who I think is going to win, cover, all that stuff. So let's start off with, I guess we'll get the Giants out of the way. So we got the Giants and the Commanders. Now, obviously, I think Tyrod Taylor is going to end up playing in this game. Right now, the Giants are a 2.5-point underdog in this game. And now the Giants have had a lot of success against Washington over the last couple of years, regardless of, what their record has been. The defense definitely showed you something last week against Buffalo. So that's encouraging. Sam Howell, he's looked good at points during the season. It's a divisional game. Giants aren't going to go anywhere this year. Obviously, Saquon Barkley is back, so that helps. And it is a home game, so I expect him to, be even better this week if he does play, which, I would assume he's playing. He's still limited in practice, but he should play. So right now the over-under is 37.5. Giants, like I said, are plus 2.5. This is tough because Daniel Jones is I think he's cleared to throw, but I don't think he's going to play in this game. So you know what? I'm going to say the Giants continue their success against Washington. I'm going to say they get the win here. The over-under 37.5. I would probably say, I would take the under in this game. I would take the under because the Giants are struggling to score points. The defense could keep it close. So I'll take the Giants in this game because this is one of the few games that they could actually win, but we'll see. All right, so let's move on to a better game. So we got the Lions and the Ravens in Baltimore. Lions are coming in at 5-1. Ravens are 4-2. Lions are getting 3 points. Over under is 43. Again, the Ravens, obviously they almost let the Titans come back in their game last week. I'm going to say the Lions. I'm going to say the Ravens win, but the Lions cover. I'm going to say that. Again, I don't really trust the Ravens, but, I think it'll be a very close game. Obviously, the Lions are dealing with some injuries to their backfield, so I don't know what the status is with, David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs at the moment. But I think it should be a good game. This is one of the better games of the weekend. And then the over-under is 43. I would say you take the over in that. Because both teams can score, so we'll see. But yeah, I would that would be my my prediction with that. So then we get into the Raiders and the Bears, man. So it's either going to be Aiden O'Connell or Brian. I guess it's going to be Brian Hoyer, who's going to start against I guess Tyler Bagent. Right now the line is dropped to plus 2.5 for the Bears. The Raiders, I think, are the better team in this game. Obviously Devontae Adams talking about this week how, he's been, disrespected kind of with, well, not really disrespected, but, he just feels he's frustrated. That's what I meant to say. He's frustrated, not really getting the ball that much the last couple of games, which, again, I don't really understand either. He's their best offensive player. But listen, you got all these expatriates there. They like throwing to their guys. So, and again, that's not to discredit Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers is a good receiver, but Devontae Adams is the best receiver in football. And he should be getting the ball more. I would probably lean towards taking the Raiders and laying the points. I just think they're the better team. But, again, I don't like it. So, and again, it's a plus 2.5. It's a 2-point spread, which I don't like. I guess I would take. I take the under. I mean, the over-under's 37. I mean, that's really low. But I mean, I don't really see a lot of scoring in this game. It's going to be a struggle to score points. So yeah, I say Raiders win that game. All right, so then we got the Browns and the Colts. Colts right now are +3. The Browns coming off of that huge win against the 49ers. Now, Deshaun Watson is questionable, but there's a possibility he could play in this game. I think the Browns win this game. Their defense, I think, is going to take over this game like it did the other day. But I mean, again, you could definitely see the them coming off of a big win. This could be a week where they lay a dud and end up losing. But I'd go with the Browns in this game. I think Gardner Minshew and the Colts offense really didn't do anything until late in the game last week against the Jags. So yeah, I'll take the Browns in this game. Over under's 40.5. Man, I'll take the under in this game. Take the under. But we'll see. Watch, I'm gonna be wrong with like all of these, but okay. So now we get into the Bills and the Patriots. Patriots are 8.5-point underdogs at home. Over under is 40. I'd probably take the over in that. I take the Bills to win. I think they win by 2 scores. Get themselves back on the right track. I mean, they did last couple of years. I mean, they've owned the Patriots. The Patriots just aren't a good football team, and they really have not shown you any indication on them snapping out of this. Although the weather is not going to be nice there right now. I mean, it says 55 degrees, but there's going to be rain, so you never know. But yeah, I'd go with the Bills in this game. I just think they're the better team. They haven't looked good offensively the last couple of weeks. It's taken them a while to get going, but again, the Patriots just not very good. So then the final early window game. So you got the Falcons and the Bucks. Falcons coming in at 3-3. Bucks are 3-2 after dropping the game last week against the Lions. Again, it's a home game for them. Desmond Ridder continues to turn the ball over. I don't really trust the Falcons. Bucks have a good defense. I mean, the defense kept them in the game last week against the Lions. So I would say the Bucks, and it's going to be a nice day there. Say the Bucks win. They cover the spread. Right now they're favored by 2.5. I would take that. Over-under is 37. I'm just going off of the over-unders on. I mean, I don't know if it's like different on, like some of the other sites, but I'm just looking at CBS. Over-under is 37. I'd probably take the over in that game. But yeah, I think the Bucks get back on track. I think this is definitely a winnable game for them. I don't trust the Falcons. But now that's gonna be is Arthur Smith gonna make a change of quarterback, or are we just gonna ride it out with Desmond Ridder? I think if Desmond Ridder plays bad here, I mean, you're already hearing rumblings about Taylor Heineke. I mean, this could be the game where Taylor Heineke finally takes the field. See what he can do. Now, listen, I don't look at Taylor Heineke as, I think he's a backup quarterback. That's what he is. But, maybe he can come in and, operate this offense better than Desmond Ridder. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But, yeah, not a lot of games in this early slate. Because, you got a lot of teams that are on byes. You got 6 teams on byes this week. So, yeah, there's really not a lot of games here. But, yeah, so I got the Giants over the Commanders. Ravens winning a close game against the Lions. Raiders winning over the Bears. Browns over the Colts. Bills over the Patriots. And the Bucks over the Falcons. Yeah, most of those teams are the favorites. But I don't know. I mean, I can't really... Like, Washington... the Giants are the only, one of the only underdogs that I picked to win. I mean, they got to win at some point, right? This should be the game where they win. But I don't know. I mean, can the Falcons beat the Bucks? Yeah, I mean they can. Their offense can't put up points, but I don't know. Bucks got a good defense, and I feel like they'll figure it out this week. After last week wasn't really a good game for them. I mean, could the Patriots cover the 8.5 point spread? I mean, maybe, because the Bills haven't looked good on offense the last 2 weeks, but they own the Patriots, and I don't feel confident in the Patriots if I took the 8.5 points there. I don't feel confident with the Giant game either way. Listen, like, it's Tyrod Taylor didn't like light up the stat sheet, but I don't know. I mean, he didn't do like. I thought he did some okay things with the Giants offense. I mean, they're at home now. I mean, they're playing the Commanders. I feel like they can win this game. I don't know. That game I don't really feel that confident in. The Lions, I mean, I take them with the points. But I will say, though, like, if Craig Reynolds ends up being like their lead back this week, I think that might be a little bit of a problem. Even though, like, I saw the clip of them talking about like maybe cutting him. I don't know if that was on Hard Knocks when the Lions were on it. So, they talked about how he is, he is what represents the Lions. And he had that massive block, for Amon-Ra St. Brown that scored that first touchdown last week. So we'll see. I mean, David Montgomery's questionable. Jahmyr Gibbs is questionable. So, I mean, that might impact. I mean, that might hurt the Lions in that game. If their top two running backs are out, that could definitely affect this game. But Jared Goff is playing very well, and the Ravens. Listen, like, they're kind of shaky too. I mean, they're a good team, but again, like the Titans almost came back. And the Lions are a very good team, so the Lions will capitalize on your mistakes. So, like the Colts and the Browns game, like that game, I could also see like the Colts maybe like, winning that game somehow. Because they're at home. And the Browns are coming off of their biggest win of the season against the Niners, so you could definitely see like, them not playing well this week, because that happens. Like, a team comes off of a huge win and then everybody picks them, and then they end up, not doing well. So, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it with the early slate of games. Let me know what you guys think. Who do you guys have winning this weekend within all these games, between all these games? Again, I also just want to remind you guys before we go to break, when it comes to donations and tips, it's very important in case you want to, get your comments recognized, because obviously there's a lot of people. There could be a lot of people in the chat, and if you want me to, talk about your comment, and, if you want to get your comment recognized, there's an option of, the super chat, so that, gets highlighted, and I talk about that on the show. And then obviously, for the bonus coverage materials, not within this broadcast, once again, just make sure to go to patreon.com and search up GSMC Sports Network to find all of our exclusive content on there, not just from my podcast, but all of the other podcasts as well here on the GSMC Sports Network. So with that, we are going to take our final break of the show. And then when we come back, we are going to discuss now, well, we will discuss when we come back, the late window games. Not the Sunday night game, that has its own segment. But, yeah, so that'll be what we do in the third part of the show when we come back from our second break. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we are now going to preview the late window games for Sunday. So let's go right through it. We'll start off with the Steelers and the Rams. So the Steelers are coming in at 3-2, Rams at 3-3 on the season. These two teams, in terms of their offense, I mean, the Rams have a better offense. I mean, they're third in the NFL in terms of passing yards per game. The Steelers are 25th. The Rams run the ball better, although it's going to be tough this week because both of their top two running backs are going to be out. The Steelers have their top two running backs, but they are 28th in rushing this season. The Rams are 17th. The Rams are 12th in points per game this season, and the Steelers are 30th. The Rams are averaging 23 points per game. The Steelers are averaging 15.8. But then you go on the defensive side of the ball. Rams passing defense has been good. They're 13th. The Steelers are 26th. Rushing yards, they're both Rams are more middle of the pack. They're 22nd, but still not great. Steelers are 29th. And points allowed, Rams are 11th. Their defense is averaging, giving up 19.5 points per game. Steelers are 20th, giving up 22. I would have thought the Steelers defense was a little bit better in terms of their numbers, but yeah, they're towards the bottom in those categories. So, I mean, I like the Rams in this game. Stafford this year's almost 1,700 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Kenny Pickett, 1,027 passing yards, 5 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. George Pickens is having a good season. He's their leading receiver. He's got 2 touchdowns on the year. I like the Rams here, although that stadium is going to get taken over by Steelers fans. For me, the Rams are favored by 3. Over-under is 44. I might take the under in that game. Listen, the Rams have a better offense, although they did struggle to kind of get it going against the Cardinals, and now they're going up against a better defense, and, the Steelers are kind of going to have home field advantage with that stadium. I could definitely see the Steelers upsetting the Rams here, but I just can't do it because their offense just is struggling to score points. So I think the Rams win this game. They cover the 3. So the Rams will improve to 4-3. Steelers will drop to 3-3. So we'll see. But that's my thoughts on that. The Steelers' offense just is not good right now, and they just don't want to get rid of their offensive coordinator. So now we'll get into the Cardinals and the Seahawks, a pair of NFC West teams. Seahawks at home, they're favored by 8 right now. I like the Seahawks to win this game. So you look at the statistics for this game. So the Seahawks are actually 11th in passing yards per game. Cardinals are 28th. Cardinals are 6th in the NFL when it comes to rushing yards per game, 141. And the Seahawks are 20th. They're at 104. But Cardinals, they're 20th in points per game. Seahawks are top 10. They're 8th at 24.8. So, and the Cardinals, they're missing James Conner. A big part of that is James Conner. Also Joshua Dobbs, he's ran the ball. He's had a couple of big runs in the games that he's played so far this year. And the Cardinals have been competitive. They kept it close with the Rams. They were actually winning against the Rams in the first half last week. But this week, they're playing against a high-powered offense. Both defenses, 27th and 29th when it comes to passing yards per game. The Seahawks are 4th against the run, and that's what the Cardinals like to do. The Cardinals are 24th against the run, and then points allowed, Seahawks are 18th, Cardinals are 27th. Now, listen, 8 is a lot of points. I think the line, in my spread pool, it's at 7.5, so it's gone up. I think the Seahawks, this one's tough. I have the Seahawks winning. The over-under is 44.5. I'd maybe take the over in this game. I think the Cardinals will be able to score, some points in this game. Seahawks win it. 8's a big number, but I think I'd lay the points here. I think if James Conner was playing in this game, I probably would take the Cardinals, but I think now they've kind of fallen back down to earth now. The Bengals, well, the 49ers blew them out 35-16. Bengals won 34-20 against them, and then last week they only put up 9 points against the Rams. Again, I could see them backdoor covering, but I don't trust the Cardinals right now. So I'm gonna take the Seahawks and hope that they cover the spread and win. Well, I think they're gonna win. I have confidence in them winning. I don't have confidence in the number, but I just don't have confidence in either team if I pick one way or the other. But right now in my spread pool I have the Seahawks covering the spread. So all right, so then we go to the next game. Packers and the Broncos. Packers coming in at 2-3. Broncos are 1-5. The last time these two teams met in the Mile High City, that was back in 2015. That was Peyton Manning's last season, and that was obviously when the Broncos won the Super Bowl. And that was when the Packers were coming in at 5-0 or 6-0, whatever it was. They're undefeated. And the Broncos defense, the no-fly zone, held Aaron Rodgers to 77 yards passing in that game. And Peyton Manning, actually, that was probably his best game he played, that season, in the Gary Kubiak era. So looking at the statistics for these teams, so they're actually 21st and 22nd in passing yards per game. Broncos have the slight edge there. Broncos are a slightly better running team than them, and that's also due to the fact that Aaron Jones has missed time with injury. Packers are 27th in rushing. Broncos are 19th. Packers are averaging, slightly, a point more per game than the Broncos. They're 13th. They're slightly ahead of them. 13th in points per game. Broncos are 17th. Then on the defensive side of the ball, the Packers are 9th against the pass, giving up an average of 215 straight per game. Broncos are giving up an average of 285.8, so that's 31st. They're 32nd against the run and 32nd in points allowed. But the Packers are not good against the run either. They're 28th. I mean, they're giving up an average of 143.4 rushing yards per game. The Broncos are giving up an average of 172.3 rushing yards per game, which, like I just said, is the worst in the NFL. Packers, in terms of points allowed, 22.6 points per oh my God, 22.6. They're giving up an average of points allowed per game. Man, the tongue twister there. And the Broncos are giving up 33.3, 32nd. So, yeah, Broncos defense is very bad. Obviously, the Packers, last time they played, they lost 17-13 to the Raiders. Jordan Love did not have a good game there. He threw 3 interceptions. So this is a get-right game for them. They're coming off of a bye. I don't know what the status is of Aaron Jones. I think he's still questionable. If he plays, I mean, that definitely gives the Packers a better chance to win, obviously. But also, listen, Russell Wilson has not played well his last 2 games. But, I mean, it's crazy how people are just focusing in on Russell Wilson and saying he is the problem. Now, he's part of the problem, but there are so many other things going on with the Broncos that you really can't just say it's just him. So, but yeah, I got the Packers. They should win this game. The Broncos just are very bad. I mean, the Broncos put up 8 points last week. I expect this game to be close. If the Packers lose, I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers lose this game, but they should win this game. They are the better team, but we'll see. All right, so now we get into final late afternoon game, the late window game, and that is between the Kansas City Chiefs and the LA Chargers. Obviously, both of these teams know each other very well. Chargers coming off of a loss against the Cowboys. Chiefs, just played the Broncos, winning 19-8. Something's off with the Chiefs. Obviously, offensively, their defense has looked better this year. So we'll see. I mean, this game could definitely be high scoring. The over-under is 48. I mean, I guess you probably take the over in this game. Usually the games between these two teams is very high scoring. So, and the spread right now has the Chiefs favored by 5.5. A little concerned with how the Chargers played last week offensively. Herbert didn't look good, but usually it's always a one-score game between these two teams. So looking at the stats, offensively, the Chargers are 5th in passing yards per game. The Chiefs are 6th. Chiefs are 11th in rushing yards per game. Chargers are 18th. And in terms of points per game for both offenses, the Chargers are 7th, 25.4 points per game, and the Chiefs are 24.5. They're 10th. Then on the defensive side of the ball, the Chiefs have the edge in pretty much every category. Well, in the main categories. They're 5th against the pass, giving up an average of 198.5 passing yards per game. Chargers are giving up 317.8, which is 32nd in the NFL, which is last in the NFL. They're 14th against the run. The Chargers, the Chiefs are 12th. So they're both middle of the pack. Obviously, the Chiefs have been running the ball well. The Chargers haven't really, but now they got Eckler back, so that's going to change, of course. In terms of points allowed, Chargers defense is 23rd. Chiefs are 2nd. So that just goes to show you this Chiefs defense has been playing a lot better. I think the Chiefs win by a touchdown. I'm going to say they cover the spread. And, but here's the thing. I haven't been picking them the last few weeks because I just don't like the Chiefs to cover. Now I'm picking them to cover, so you know what's going to happen. So when I come back on Monday, we'll revisit it, and I'll be like, yep, I told you. So we'll see. But I think also the other reason, too, is just because the Chargers offense just hasn't looked good. Well, it didn't look good last week, and Herbert's a little banged up. So that's kind of why I'm siding with the Chiefs. And also because the defense has been playing well, too. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it with the late afternoon games, late window games. So let me know what you guys think. When it comes to those games, definitely a better slate of games this week than last week. Because last week, the games were just not good. And I did very bad in my spread pool. It was like my worst week so far. So I'm hoping for a better week. Obviously, I'm going with a lot of the favorites, which is kind of a bad thing. But it's just, I don't know. I can't. Like the Chargers, I could maybe take. I could switch. I could take the Steelers just because of their defense. The Packers didn't look good. I could switch to the Broncos, which I just don't want to. The Broncos, I just don't trust. I don't trust them. I don't trust the Packers, but I don't trust the Broncos more because their defense is just very bad this year. But with the Chiefs-Chargers game, the Chiefs' defense has been playing well this year. Chargers' offense didn't look good last week. So, I could definitely see the Chiefs, winning by at least a touchdown. This could be definitely a one-score game, just as long as they win by a touchdown. But I think this will be – I really will not be surprised if, the Chargers, they keep it close and it's a 3-point game. Because, the games against these teams are always good. But for the most part, Herbert's always on the losing end. I think he didn't win last year, but, they won that game in Arrowhead in 2021. But the games are always exciting, so we'll see what happens. So now, speaking of exciting games, when we come back from our final break of the show, we will then talk about the Dolphins and the Eagles game for Sunday night, probably the best game of the weekend, and that will finish off Sunday. So, that'll be what we talk about on the final part of the show. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, and just stuttering over my words here, or stumbling over my words. For the final part of the show, we are now going to preview the Sunday night matchup between the Dolphins and the Eagles. So obviously these two teams are coming in at 5-1. The Eagles, they suffered their first loss against the Jets last week. Dolphins, they picked up a win against the Panthers. Both teams, are some of the best teams in football. Obviously, the Eagles have some concerns coming into this game. Jalen Hurts coming off of a 3-interception game. So this game's going to be very good, very high scoring. Right now, the over/under is 51.5. I mean, you would think the over is going to hit. These two offenses are, some of the best offenses in the league. You would expect this game to be a shootout. Right now, the Eagles are favored by 2.5 over the Dolphins. So we'll go through the stats. I mean, so right now, Tua almost has 2,000 yards passing. He has 14 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. Jalen Hurts, a little over 1,500 yards passing, 7 touchdowns to 7 picks. So, yeah, I mean, at this point, last year, his numbers were a lot better. The interceptions are definitely high for him. Tyreek Hill, obviously, the leading receiver in the NFL. He's got almost 1,000 yards. I mean, maybe he goes for 200 and gets to 1,000. It's possible. A.J. Brown's having a good year after, obviously him and Hurts were going at it on the sidelines. Well, more so A.J. Brown because he was voicing his displeasure, not getting the ball enough. But he's been getting the ball a lot recently. So looking at the comparisons between the two teams, Dolphins are first in every offensive category. First in passing yards, first in rushing yards, first in points. The Eagles are still top 10. They're still a very good offense. They're 9th in passing yards, 2nd in rushing, and 5th in points per game, 25.8. Dolphins are averaging 37.2. Now that number is definitely inflated from the 70-point game against the Broncos. Then on defense, both teams are around the same in passing, giving up against the pass. Eagles are 20th, giving up an average of 254 passing yards per game, and the Dolphins are 19th, giving up an average of 252.5. So, there's going to be a lot of big plays in this game. Rushing yards, the Eagles are good against the run, so something definitely has to give there. Dolphins being the top rushing team, Eagles being one of the top teams, stopping the run. Dolphins are 20th against the run as a defense, so that definitely is something that the Eagles are going to key in on, especially because they're a team that loves to run the football. I mean, the tush push, obviously, with the, at the goal line. DeAndre Swift has had a good year. Hurts loves to run the football as well. So that's definitely something the Eagles are going to take advantage of, and that's something that they have the advantage of in this game. In terms of points allowed, the Eagles' defense is 15th. The Dolphins are 26th. So it should be a very good game. I do like the Eagles in this game to win. I think they get back on the right track. Again, that's another favorite to pick. But I won't be surprised with either outcome. I mean, I think this game should be a high-scoring game. I mean, this game could be like a 34-31 game, something like that. It should be very exciting and a lot of points. And listen, if you got a lot of fantasy players in that game, because I know I have Tua in a league, I have Tyreek Hill in a couple of leagues, I have Hurts in a league. So it should be a very good game. It should be a very good game. I think this is a big game for the Eagles. Especially because coming off of a loss against the Jets and Hurts didn't look good. And obviously, for both teams, they got other teams that are tied with them for the best record in their conferences. I mean, the Eagles, they're tied with the Niners, who are coming off of a loss, and the Lions. So obviously, the Eagles want to win because they're trying to get home field. Dolphins, same thing applies with them. Bills are a game behind them, but they're also tied with the Chiefs. Obviously, that should get somewhat settled when they play in a couple of weeks. If the Dolphins win and the Chiefs both win this weekend. But should be a great game. I'm interested to see what the Eagles do against the track stars that they have on offense for the Dolphins. But I think really the key for the Eagles is stopping the run and being able to run the football, because, like I just said, they're good against the run, and they're a good running team. So and the Dolphins defense isn't good against the run. So that's really, I think, what's going to be the key in this game for the Eagles to take advantage of. Like I said, but should be a very high scoring game. Like I said, I'm going to say like I said, 34-31. I think the final score would be. But let me know what you guys think with that game, how you see that playing out. But I think the Eagles, they will definitely, especially being at home, Sunday night, Lincoln Financial Field. That definitely is going to play a role as well. I expect the Dolphins to put up points themselves. And again, I'm not going to be surprised with either outcome, because both teams are very good this year. They are. They both have, they're both Super Bowl contenders. I believe that. But Jalen Hurts, again, it was concerning watching him, throw 3 picks the other day, and obviously the last one was just terrible. That shouldn't have happened. That the play call was very bad there. They should have won that game, but but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's pretty much it with the previewing of all these games. Obviously, like I said in the last segment, the slate is definitely better than what it was last week. You look at this game, you got the Chargers and the Chiefs, you got the Lions and the Ravens. We already got a very good Thursday night game, so that's that definitely got the week off to a good start. It's definitely a better slate. And then what else do we have? What was the other game that I was missing? I think Steelers-Rams maybe could be like a close game in terms of the defense. Defense is keeping it close, but the Steelers' offense just can't score. But we'll see. The Raiders-Bears game, nobody's really going to pay attention to that. Just because you're going to have 2 backup quarterbacks going at it. But we'll see. And then obviously on Monday, which I'll preview it on Monday, you got the Niners and the Vikings. Now, obviously, it might not be the matchup that we were hoping for, because we're going to be missing Justin Jefferson, and who knows, Christian McCaffrey might not be playing in that game. So, but that game I will preview on Monday. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think with how you see all these games playing out. Hopefully it's a good week. Hopefully I have a better week in the spreads. Hopefully I'm better with the predictions this week, because I was very bad with the spreads last week. So I'm trying to get myself back on the right track. Obviously fantasy got off to a good start. Had Kamara in some leagues last night, so that was good. Ridley, 1 catch for 5 yards. That was bad. But other than that, Kamara did what he was supposed to do. So, yeah, we're looking good. But, we'll see. We'll see what happens this week. Hopefully my fortune is better this week. But again, I want to remind you guys, so after the Patreon, so I should get done with that around 12:30 Eastern Time. And then shortly after that, we will be doing the baseball podcast. So make sure to tune into that. That will be on. I'll be streaming that at 12:45 Eastern Time. So we'll recap the championship series, and I got some other topics as well that I want to get to regarding the playoff format, and whether Jose Altuve should be in the Hall of Fame or not. So that'll be what that show's about. So make sure to tune into that. Also look out for some of the shorts that I'll post later today. For 2 for the football podcast, and 2 for the baseball podcast as well. And, then we'll be back on Monday, recapping all the games, of course. You know, another week. We're approaching the midway point of the season, and it's very scary to think about that because the season's flying by, and it's. I mean, October's almost over. We're almost in November, and we got football on both Thanksgiving and Christmas this year, and on New Year's Eve. So so we got to take it 1 week at a time. But hey, it's the best time of the year. So, really looking forward to another week here. Got a lot of good games. Again, just hoping that the slate is definitely better. Now it's just and it got off to a good start. Now it's just all about, it being better than last week, which it definitely will. But once again, let me know what you guys think with how what it's one game that you're most excited for this weekend. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the video. Help us out. And again, reminding you guys, to get your comments recognized in the chat. For it to be a super chat. You go to streamelements.com/GSMC sportsnetwork or gsmcsportsnetwork./tip to donate and get your comment recognized, so I highlight it during the live stream here. And then obviously, with the Patreon, which I will shortly in a couple minutes be recording after this, to see our exclusive content, go to patreon.com and search up GSMC Sports Network to find all of the exclusive content from not just my podcast, the football podcast, and the baseball podcast, but all the other podcasts that we have here on the GSMC Sports Network. So, that's pretty much it. Obviously, once again, had a lot to talk about. Busy week, big weekend with football. I wish everybody good luck in their predictions, whether you're just doing predictions for fun, you got a survivor pool, that you're still in, because I did the ESPN one and got knocked out when the Cowboys lost to the Cardinals. And obviously good luck in fantasy, all those things. But yeah, we'll see what happens this week. A lot of big games. Really excited to lock in and watch them. So enjoy the games this weekend. Once again, we'll be back on Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. So make sure to tune in for that. 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then obviously I'll have the Patreon recorded after that. And like I said, I will be streaming once again today. I'll be doing the baseball podcast, so make sure to tune into that. That'll be 12:45 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure to tune in for that as well. And and we had sound today because I know last week, the first time I did the doubleheader, I didn't have sound for the football show, the football podcast. But today we have sound. We're good. So I'm happy about that. So with that is all the time that we have for today. I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to tune in about 45 minutes for the baseball podcast. And, for everybody else, enjoy the games this weekend. I'll see you guys next week. Take care. Once again, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the games. Take care, and I will see you guys on Monday. And if you tune in for the baseball podcast, I'll see you in about 45 minutes. So take care.